Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. I'm Marco D'Angelo. This is the question and answer session. We've got Brian Leonard and Preston, the Sports Cheetah, in studio. Let's get things started. Our first question of the week that we got on Twitter was from Tommy Taylor, and he wants to know, how do you treat a handicapper that you have a long-term subscription with if he goes on a cold streak? And this is actually a great question because, let's face it, we all bet professionally, 365 days a year. We're going to have periods. I don't care who you are. You're going to have a period where you go into a cold streak, whether, you're on the wrong side of every coin flip, so to speak. You lose extra inning games or overtime games. It happens. But how do you handle that? And my first thing that I'll say to you guys is that when you're with somebody long-term, you made that long-term commitment because you trust that guy that you bought. You've followed him for a while. You like his style. You ride the guy out. And if you're doing percentage of bankroll, you're adjusting your wagers anyways. Your bets are decreasing when you're losing, and when you're winning, they're increasing. So that's my answer on that end. You guys, what do you think you want to inject here?
Yeah, I have a good example. I'll be honest about it. Even this past year, I had two guys that during my college basketball season, my first 2 months of college basketball were pretty bad. And I know of two guys I spoke with regularly. They were really nice about it, and they understood that they put the trust in you for a full season or a full year of plays. And a couple of them had made money from football anyways, one of the two, I should say. And so anyway, to get to the point quick, because we're on a short video, they both decided at one point to just stop with college. I'll just take the loss for now, no big deal. I'll keep betting NBA. NBA had been doing well, and playoffs are coming up. And of course, I don't know if they were the coolers or whatnot, but I ended the regular season 23-7 in college basketball, which they weren't betting. And three of those plays, two of them were my bigger plays of the year, a 5% and a 6%. So we made a lot of it back. Wound up basically about even on the regular season, and then into the tournaments, I did pretty well, and so we ended up slightly plus on those bets. And so that's an example of that commitment you were talking about. If you trust a guy and you want to put everything into him, give it a full season or a full year, versus after a bad month and a half or 2 months, whatever it might be, or even for shorter term guys. There's a lot of people that buy picks for one weekend or a week. A lot of guys just want some action on a certain game on a certain day, and that's fine. It depends on what you're trying to invest in. But ultimately, I recommend people do longer term packages versus shorter term because you're going to get a bigger spread of a packet. The variance is always there.
Variance is there, and it costs you less money if you buy it.
And that too,
yeah. And we were joking here. I'm having a terrible 10 days. So I've been doing lousy right now. So if somebody's bought my plays, they think I'm terrible. Well, go back over the last 20, 30 years and and look at that. And
You're there for the good, you're there for the bad, and if you're a long-term winner, that's
last thing I wanted to say to Tommy, don't try to, I know guys that have tried to stop and then come back in and stop and come back in, and then you just get frustrated and seem to always do it at the wrong time. So either bet them all, or if you stop, then stop for good, and so you're not stressing about it that way. But don't try to guess when someone's high and cold.
LV Sports 5 asked, name 2 college, 2 NFL teams to watch out for this season, good or bad. I'm going to pass on the college at this point because I'm not ready with the college. Cheetah, you're definitely knee-deep in the college already because you're writing the Cheetah guide. Couple college teams you want to throw out there for them?
I have 2. One's would be surprising for most people. I think Ohio State's being undervalued completely, at least from everything that's opened up, from game of year lines earlier on, and even the season win totals. I went to the Nugget when they opened it up at 8.5, and I bet it for the limit twice before they moved it up too high. And currently it's at 9.5, which I think is a fair number. But the fact that people think that Ohio State, they had, I think, 10 guys drafted in the NFL. That's a lot. They lose a lot of talent. But they have Barrett back at quarterback. And if you don't think an Urban Meyer team's just going to replenish with talent and be well coached and ready to play, they play Oklahoma early, which is a tough game on the road. And if they lose that, I think they're going to rebound from it and probably win out the rest of the year. I think they're an 11-win team, and if they beat Oklahoma, then they have a shot, either way at the playoff. 8.5 wins or getting 9 points against Oklahoma, which is that game of the year line. Just a team that I think is undervalued somehow. Then the other one, a method I like to do every year is bet on the team that got hyped the year before and totally just fell in their face. And Auburn's a good one. Their season win total is like 6.5, 7, depending on the book here in Vegas. And their team, I think, is going to win 8 or 9 games at least and kind of bounce back and have a similar type season they did before last year when things kind of fell apart.
That kills 2 questions for us because we had a guy specifically asked about Auburn,
so
we took care of that one. So, Nick, we got you covered there. I want to go into one, Brian. I'll throw an NFL team out there and then a topic that I really want to get to that was a good question. NFL, I think the Giants are going to be a sleeper this year. This is a team that, they made the coaching change, Coughlin had been there forever, and you look at this team last year, at times they looked very good, at times they looked bad. A lot of questionable clock management in late games last year. If you look at this team going into the fourth quarter, they were in almost all of their ball games. They really only had a couple games where they were bad. I think the coaching change and just that, if you want to call luck factor in anything, that, they were on the wrong end most of the time of those coin flips. I think that they're a team that division's not that strong. You got a lot of changes happening in Philadelphia. Dallas is always going to be overhyped. Everybody expects them to do good every year. Romo coming back from injury. But the question with Dallas is now we've seen Romo's not durable anymore. He's been injured a lot more than he's played. So that's a concern. And then Washington, will they really, will Kirk Cousins have a career year again this year? A lot of question marks there. So I think the Giants definitely are value in that division. And if they win the division and, sneak into the playoffs and maybe get a home field advantage for, one of the rounds, they could go deep.
Yeah, they've shown before that they can win with lesser talent. They've done very well in the past. I just wanted to touch on the Ohio State. You're the third person I've talked to that really likes Ohio State, and the other 2 guys I highly respect also. So,
good sign.
You take a look at Ohio State. They just bring in great players. They've got one of the best coaches, and take a look at their wide receiver corps. It's so much better this year than it was in the past, and they've got the quarterback back again. So I could definitely see that.
I mean, they do anay, and Urban Meyer's there now for the last few years, so you think their recruiting's even better, and they would anyway. It's weird that people are so down on them. Yeah.
The last one that we're going to have time for, and this has been a hot topic this week on Twitter.
This is a good one.
Kurt Chamberlain, a good friend of ours, he wanted to know our thoughts on the 8% admin fee for the SuperContest. What do you guys think?
I can go first.
Got something to say about this?
I can say something. I could just pass if you'd like.
No, go ahead.
I think it's really hard to enter the contest after you're paying for a flight to get here for most people, a hotel or whatever for a night or 2 if you're staying, paying for a proxy for $300 more to put in your plays. It's hard enough to really, convince yourself that it's worthwhile. It's not really a plus EV decision.
No.
If you want to play the contest for fun, whatever, you don't care about that stuff, that's fine. A lot of people make that decision anyway, but if you're really trying to take advantage of winning a contest and you have an edge because you think you're a better than everyone else, your edge is gone because of the vig, so to speak, or rake that you're paying. And so now that Westgate's adding 8% more, it's like $120 or whatever it is more to what you're having to pay to just be in the contest, it's tough. I'm not going to do it this year, actually, and I'm here and I don't even have to pay for a proxy. So I've told some people that I know that I'm friends with that do it. I'll do it for free. I kind of think the $300 proxy service is pretty high just in general anyway, and people, most of the people that are doing it now, other than Vegas and Maddie, who deserves a shout out, who's done it really well for years, a lot of others trying to do it are in the contests themselves, which is a huge conflict of interest in my opinion. So I'm not going to enter it. I'm going to do the Nugget one, which has some college football stuff, and that should be fun. But if you want me to do it, I'll put in the plays for free for you. I just want like a couple % or whatever for a sweat, just a free roll. And if someone does well, then great for me. If not, they save $300 for losing. So ultimately, yeah, I'm kind of disappointed in the Westgate. It's hard enough to beat, as is, and now you're paying $120 each time, each contestant that doesn't go to the pool.
I understand why they're doing it. I mean, there's a lot of a new company's taking them over. The Westgate's taking over for the Hilton. There's a lot of man hour that they have to pay. They got a lot of employees there. A lot of people are interested in it. It's great publicity for the Westgate. I never understood why they did it with no vig in the first place. So I understand why they do it. But to be honest with you, I haven't done it in the last few years because there's so many people in it. It's a crapshoot, and it's billed as a handicapping contest, but you're playing against stale lines. And every point, the Golden Nugget, you're playing against stale lines also.
Yeah.
But every point in the NFL is worth more than it is in college. I mean, 3s and 7s aren't worth nearly as much in college as they are in the NFL. So it's more of a game situation. I know we've talked about this in the past. It's game theory as much as it is for handicapping. And then with the extra 8%, why would I want to do that? I'd rather have my money used for sports betting purposes.
Yeah, and I don't want to get on the wrong side of Jay Cornegay, but they do a great job.
Yeah.
It's one of the best books in Vegas as far as numbers go and everything else they do. But sometimes, the sportsbook directors, unfortunately, when it's corporate owned, you lose power. You've got to answer to, the bean counters, unfortunately, and that's a situation here. I'll throw one thing out there. Maybe 8% seems high. I understand that they should have something. I agree with that because there is a lot of work involved. What I've always said about is this contest has grown in popularity the last, just since I've been in Vegas. I mean, I've been here since 2008. It's grown every single year.
I'd wager this is the first year it doesn't. That's my bet. If anyone wants to book that.
It's probably going to take, but I thought that what they should have done with the contest as it's grown is gone to the poker concept and paid more of the field. And I think if more people were cashing,
pretty
even
top heavy.
If it's a min cash, you're keeping the money in because so many people that are playing this contest, I don't want to say are dead money, but they're recreational players that are going to take their shot for $1,500 and be able to have a sweat for 16 weeks. Yep. But when you're out of it halfway through the season, there's no sweat, there's no fun, and those guys that are plunking down $1,500, they're going to do it a couple years and they're going to say, I got no shot at this, and they're going to quit doing it. Whereas if you expand the field to 10% of the field, take a little bit off the top and put it at the bottom, you're recirculating the money. And even the World Series of Poker was smart enough this year. Brian, you're not a poker player, but
a similar thing even
they went more. Yeah. They went to 15% in some of the tournaments to expand the payment, and all it does is keep money in the community.
People come
so
back
that you
the next
can keep,
year.
I think the more that year.
The last 2 years, you'd hit like 64% just to get them in cash, which is crazy. It's because there's so many people now. Yeah. It's hard.
I just want to touch on two things. If they wanted to improve it, and Jay Cornegay's been great to us. He's been great to the community out here. Number one, with the parking now. The parking is going to be crazy because we've got so much convention area over there. It's hard enough to park down there anyway to get your plays in. Now they've got the gates up. We don't know what's going to happen this football season. Number two, I wouldn't mind paying the 8%. Why don't they just have it on the computer? I know that's some logistic problems. Have it on the computer where I could sit at home and put my plays in. Saves the $300 for the proxy.
Proxy guys aren't going to like that. And
I'm sorry.
If you're out of state, there's a legality issue with that too.
Right. Well, they would. You still have to have somebody in Nevada to put it in on the computer.
Yeah.
But to go there.
Yeah, but one of the things, and I understand their take on it, is one of the reasons which justified them doing it for nothing is you got to come into their property to put the bets in. So if you're there, maybe you make a night out of it, you gamble a little bit while you're there, or you go to a restaurant, whatever. That's the theory behind it. Maybe the bean counters are looking and seeing that isn't the case because there are so many proxies, and if one guy's coming in and just putting 60 entries in and then he's turning around and leaving, they're not making any money from walk-in traffic. So I can understand them there. Great stuff, guys, and keep sending questions, and we like doing this. If we keep getting more questions, we'll do a couple videos a week so that we can get everything answered for you guys. And don't forget, every Tuesday at Wager Talk, it's $2 Tuesday. You can get one capper. We feature their best bet and offer it for just $2. It's a great way to try somebody out for the first time, or if you're new to Wager Talk, it's a good way to check out the site. Each and every Tuesday, $2 Tuesday. We'll be back with more here at wagertalk.com.